Welcome to Undimensioned and Unseen. In this episode, we're going to talk about the one where there's some dumb broods of Yogg-Sothoth walking around.
Man, that was the worst intro you've done yet. Welcome to Undimensioned and Unseen. This we're going to talk about Undimensioned and Unseen scenario, I guess.
Apparently this is a separate encounter from the one that came before it.
Mm-hmm.
Who knew?
Yeah, this one takes us a lot. This one is both games we played.
This one's a beast of an encounter.
Yeah, it took us 2 hours.
Like both times.
So these are the big things, these guys.
There's 5 of them.
And they have 6 attack, 1 health, and then plus 1 health per investigator. And 3 foot. They also, the whole point is to kill them. And they're very hard to kill because they're going to be moving around randomly.
Also, you can't hurt them except with the attack formula.
Yeah. So you fight them with attack uses brain instead of fist. You get plus 2 brain for this attack for each clue on the attached enemy. Mm-hmm. This one I also remember is very good. I mean, but when is higher education not good? But higher education really helps this one become a lot easier. Yeah. But no matter what, you're at the whim of the fates because these guys move around randomly.
Yep.
So
I mean, like you can influence a little bit, but
yeah, this one you feel very useless as the goon at the beginning because you're like, I can't use fist for anything.
Yeah.
And then you remember that there are lupine thralls and they're really hard to kill,
and
they will kill all of your teammates if you don't do something about it.
Because the first time we played this, those wolves fucked us up.
Oh yeah.
The second time we were a bit more prepared for them.
This is another one where the encounter sets, the Mythos deck is quite difficult. You have your basic, the one that comes with it, the Broods of Yogg-Sothoth. You got like Towering Beast, which makes them harder to kill and fight. You got Attracting Attention, which is one of the cards that governs their movement. Destruction, those guys will like beat you up. The Creature's Tracks, which is a really weird one. Like it's peril, so you can't talk to your allies about it. And like, it's one that early in the game you're like, oh god, no. Please, like I guess I'll take 2 horror. And then late game you're like, I need to draw one of these so I can spawn the damn thing.
Yeah.
And like it does provide an interesting avenue of kind of thought where you're like, do I just spawn it and get it out of the way so we don't have to worry about it later? Because there does come a point where like you can't kill them all if you haven't spawned them yet.
Do you start with the esoteric formula or do you have to find it?
I believe you start with it.
I think you all, I believe that as well. And luckily also they're nice enough. The esoteric formula doesn't.
It doesn't take up a hand slot.
Oh no, that's Act 1. You have to spend 2 points per investigator, and then each player gets 1. If you have Armitage.
So like right away, spawning them is bad because you can't fight them at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, they don't really move towards you necessarily.
For other encounter sets, you got the Whippoorwills, you got your Frozen in Fear, I forget what it's called, it's for the core set, it's a triangle one. You got Unhallowed Country, and then another one that was printed in the core, Dunwich Deluxe, is these Thrall guys, and they will fuck you up.
The Lupine Thralls, that is, not the Avian Thralls. They're pretty easy. If you have a gun, you just shoot them and they die.
I mean, like, they're all pretty scary, yo.
The Avian Thralls aren't too bad. These guys are really annoying.
Which is something, but they're harder to kill, right?
Yeah, the Lupine
Unless
Thralls,
you have a gun.
Yeah. I mean,
in which case they're the easiest thing to kill.
I only take 2 shots, but...
Yeah, but the Lupine Thralls, those things... Like, 4 strength is like, oh, okay.
They've got, like, the
Asphalov
Asphalov number on them.
Yeah. They have the Asphalov number.
Especially on, like, higher difficulties, man, 4 is hard to overcome. Like, even if you're Mark Harrigan, like, you have base 5, your weapon gives you, like, +1, like, you're just hoping to God you draw, like, smaller than -2.
Yeah.
Right?
And they spawn the farthest away from you, too, so it's, like, just the impending clock of doom.
Oh, yeah, they're coming for you.
But the thing is, they also, because they go for the lowest foot, you might spawn them next to someone else, and then they just move in and attack them.
Yep,
right?
lowest foot is also usually your clue guy, so...
Yeah. And your clue guy is the one who's probably going to be doing the fighting against the broods, because their brains are usually the highest. So, like, these cards are here just to be like, especially this guy, are just here to be like, oh, you had a plan? Here's an evil dog that looks like a crocodile.
Or a bird.
Yeah, I think the bird isn't so bad.
Again, it depends what's in your deck. If you're relying on machete for your weapon, like, bird sucks.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
You're like trying to hit with a machete in the air. I'll get you.
Come down here.
But I think that these definitely provide a big amount or a large amount of difficulty for this
Yeah.
encounter. But in general, you wander around the village. Something really cool that they do with this one is a lot of the places you can set, or a lot of locations you can set traps for them to add clues to the birds, which make them easier to kill.
Yeah, and then how because placing the clues on them is how you actually
These
go
attack
for
form, it uses Bryn instead of punch. You get +2 fist attack for each clue on the attacked enemy, and you can only use against abominations.
Yeah.
One thing I really appreciate that they did for this one is they don't really have anything that punish, like that one that makes you shuffle a non-story asset and stuff like that. Nothing that screws with your assets. So you're just like, guess I'll lose this tag formula. Get wrecked.
Yeah, and they also definitely also just they can there's no ancient evils, so you know that there's no there's basically the timer, because you also then know that they're these guys move randomly, which doesn't sound bad when you say, oh, they just move around randomly, but because you have to set traps and build things, you need to have a plan for it.
You need to have them quite specific locations.
Because there's also other locations that the Dunwich villages move a brood of Yog-Sothoth enemy once towards Dunwich village. You're like, oh great, we can build a plan. But then you realize, oh, he's in a place where there is an even amount of steps to either of them. And the grim rule of the game states they always will make the worst choice if there's an equal one. Yeah. So then you're like, oh, great. So you have to kind of corral these things that just move randomly.
Yeah, the difficulty from this one isn't really the thralls or the random movement of the guys, but it's hurting them while you want to be, while also having to deal with the thralls.
Yeah. And then, Bryn has something here that we see.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So, the esoteric formula says you can only use it to attack an abomination enemy, and it's worth noting that both of the thralls are abomination enemies, so you can attack them with the esoteric formula. It'll take a long time to kill them.
Yeah.
But for many characters, it's a much better choice than having to go at them with a machete or an axe or something.
It does give an out if you have an exceptional number of clue gathering.
For the all-yellow build that we're going to do.
Also, as previously noted, the Lupine Thrall has the Asphalloth number on it, which means that if you hit it once with the esoteric formula, it dies to normal attacks.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, look at that. It's just you can team it.
Working as a team on a novel concept.
I know, in a co-op game, who would have thought?
One thing I think this one does a good job of is forcing you to make the encounter a bit more difficult for yourself. What with you want, you kind of want your goon to go after the thralls, but at the same time they're gonna come to you.
Yeah.
The avian thralls are gonna bother. They're designed to be more difficult against the goons in general, whereas the lupine thralls are gonna try and chase down your spellcasters and your clue gatherers.
This is also where the Powder of Imangazi comes in. Did we talk about this?
From the last expansion.
Yeah.
It's a mobile location.
Yeah, it's just you can move one clue from Powder of Imangazi, and there's going to be the number of characters who survive. So this actually can be a great way to really...
Would highly recommend trying to get this with lots of clues on it and using it because
it makes the game so much easier.
Not even easier, but just faster.
Yeah.
Stuck here for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we've played it twice, and we have not once finished it in less than 2 hours.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I feel like this is the epic battle where it's supposed to take a long time. It's obviously designed to be a longer one.
Yeah.
Because you can see, it's the opposite of the train one, where it's gotta go fast, and this one's okay, so how can this guy move in the worst way, because that's what's gonna happen. So
something else that's worth noting is these thralls get real hard to kill when you hit Act 3. Because it gives each abomination +1 fight and evade. So the avian thrall sitting there at 6 punch, and the lupine thrall at 5.
5 and 5 foot.
So walking into this one, if you know what you're
getting into,
you want to be loaded up on firearms or spells to kill them with, because if you have a firearm or a spell, the avian thrall gets -3 to its fight, so it's not really very threatening anymore.
So if you're relying on machetes and knives,
if you've got machetes and knives. Turns out hitting birds with those is hard.
Yeah, this one is also kind of like Midnight Masks, where you go until you feel like you've done enough, and then just resign.
Yeah.
And you just gotta cut it out before you hit
you just want to not die here.
Yeah.
Yep. You just do what you can.
Pretty much the goal.
It is nice that it isn't too punishing if you don't kill that many.
Yeah.
But like it's nice to get as many as you can,
It is.
especially since they have victory.
They are also they are all worth victory 1, and the more experience you can get going into the last, apparently 2 encounters, is a good thing.
Alright, voting time. Theme.
Yeah. So the theme I think is great, except for there's one thing that I just I'll never ever forgive and forget from this scenario. These creatures are invisible. That's great, but I just hate that you throw a can of paint on one of the monsters to put a clue on it. That just infuriates me
Why?
for some reason. I don't know.
It makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. I agree, but I just can't stand it. Just fucking Ash Campy grabs a bucket of paint, throws it on the monster, and says, "Well, my work is done," and then walks
There he
away.
is.
Right? Like it just.
I found him,
Go
guys.
get it, guys.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty comfortable giving this one like a 4 for theme.
Yeah, I also
Yeah.
would agree with that.
This encounter definitely has its flaws, but like the theme, it feels a lot like you're actually hunting them. You have to actively chase after them,
And it really
try
makes
to lure them into traps.
it really makes you feel like you're working as a team to like be like, I'm gonna go over here and grab these clues, see you when I come back, and we're like, okay, we need to work together to get this brood here so we can do this.
Yeah, and then we all need to be there to kill it before it gets stronger.
And then a wolf shows up, and you're like, oh shit, and then a vulture goes and
with the other 2 thralls having hunter, you can't really be a part.
Yeah.
Unless you're the goon, in which case you're probably pretty okay.
Yeah.
But if you're not
But
with
then,
your
like-
team, the other guys are probably not so okay.
Yeah, they're not good.
All right, for the fun for this one,
I want to give this one like a 2.
I also
Man, I would give this one like a 3.5 or a 4. I've spent like 5 hours of my life playing
it's true.
this one, and I don't think at any point I felt like I would rather be doing something else.
I mean, that's pretty fair. I could see giving this one a 3 maybe. Like, on the negative side, it can be a bit drawn out. It can be a bit frustrating to lure them around. But on the other end of it, it's very, very satisfying to work as a team. And, like, when things work out, it feels really good.
It's one of the first ones where you actually have to spend the entire encounter working together, because if you don't, people are going to die, and it's not going to go well.
You actually have to strategize. You
Yeah.
can't just wander around and be like,
this
get
is what
your
this is
clues,
what
I'll
I'm going to
kill
do.
the things that
Yeah.
spawn.
Bryn convinced me. I was going to go for a 2, but I'm happy to bump that up to a 3. Bryn's. We did spend 4 hours of our life.
Like more than 4 hours, and I like at no point during those 4 hours was it like, okay, like I'm gonna think about something else or take out my phone or
I'd say I regret
whatever.
like maybe half an hour of that overall, but
there was one of them where like 2 of us died, I think.
Well, there was also
at the end, and that kind of sucked. But
I also did that super attack against it, and I drew the red chit, and it was like, why did you do this game? But that's more of the chit pool than the scenario.
no, that's just. I mean, that's not even the chip pool. That's just like Arkham horror.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes you gotta lose.
So the difficulty of this one, when we were talking before, we were saying this wasn't too difficult, but then I forgot about the lupine thralls, and we did. 2 of us did die on the first time we
I
did
think
it.
this one's a solid 4.
I also can agree with that.
Yeah,
It's very
like
doable.
assuming we're like, how difficult is it to get like perfect resolution?
No,
I
perfect
think a
resolution. This
4
one's a 5
A
to
4
get
or
the
a
all.
4.5 or something like
Perfect. I think perfect resolution is probably a 5. Like
Yeah.
everything has to go right. You have to like you have to have enough clues on them. You have to like
Yeah.
get the esoteric formula done. You have to roll good on your attacks, and you have to spawn all 5 of them.
Yeah.
While like dodging thralls.
Yeah.
Like that's
There's
pretty
that-
near impossible.
this
to
is
get
one that, like-
a generally positive.
that. Yeah, okay, like a positive outcome, because you can just get the outcome where you're like, we're out of here.
This
Yeah.
is this
Nobody
is one that
nobody
like
died. There's 5 of them still out there. Let's go.
if you were building if you had a way to stop monsters from spawning, this would be the one that this really benefits from.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you can draw one of those thralls and just be like, no, thank you, you just like gained like 4 turns, if you have 4 turns of just like.
I mean, not like 4
If you're like
turns, but-
solo, if you're by yourself.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like 3 or 4 actions. I'd say probably.
Yeah. Like it's really.
This
So
one's quite difficult.
Overall, what do we think of this guy?
I guess one a 3.5.
Yeah, I thought it was quite good.
It's good, but the things that keep it from being like great is just like how long it takes to play.
And the randomness, I don't
Yeah.
like that much, but it also works with that these things can't be like that works for the theme, right? That these things we don't know how they're moving.
Yeah, they're invisible. It's hard to track them. Like that's part of the theme, but it is also a little bit frustrating to play. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that seems.
I think this is the one where our overall rating has come closest to being an amalgamation of
Yes,
the other one.
we did it. We're getting
We did it,
better.
guys.
We're getting better. What's next? Where Doom Awaits. The
Yeah,
one-
otherwise you can see it sticking up here.
Yeah, just
Otherwise you would not have
hello,
done that.
hello, friend. Yeah, well, I have some things to say about this one, so yeah, it'll be
This
out
one's
on our
short.
YouTube. So yeah, give us a.
The YouTube stuff.
Yeah.